Hey, good afternoon, YouTube. John Booter here again. So this is part 2 of the Microsoft SQL Server on Windows Stack tutorial. Last night we went ahead and set up the actual environment, including SQL Server, SSMS, XAMPP for Apache and PHP. And we did a little bit of proof of concept for running a select query. Next thing I wanted to do is actually go into a little bit more into the CRUD, which is create, read, update, delete. So we've done the R part in CRUD, read. So now we're going to do create, update, and delete. So I started out with some simple queries that I have ready to paste into our project here in VS Code. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of jump into that. So we've got our folder, our htdocs folder open here on the machine that we're logged into on remote desktop. And we've got query selects.php. So that one, there's not really going to be any changes. We've got the function show people. But what I'm going to do is actually make a query update. So I haven't tested this code yet. So we'll kind of test it as we go, but I'm going to double click in the open space down here to create a new file, and then query update.php, and I'll go full screen once I get the code pasted in there. We'll paste that, we'll save that, close that because I don't need it, and then for query insert, I'm going to go ahead and create a new one over here as well. Query insert.php, paste that, we'll save that, and I think that should be it. I can close out of some of these. I don't need DB open. So if we've got update and delete. We didn't build anything on the front end as far as HTML goes. So let's go ahead and do that. So on our index.php file at present, all we do is call the function show people. So as just kind of a refresher, oh yeah, let me go full screen on that. As a refresher, let's go in and just refresh the page, just localhost here. So it just runs that query that pulls all 3 rows from our database. So that's the same 3 rows that we see here. So now let's build a bit of an HTML form on that main page. So we won't call the function show people anymore. So we'll comment that out. And then we don't really need it to be any PHP code. So we'll just open HTML tag, and then we'll say body. We're going to skip a lot of the good practices for laying out an HTML document on this one, just for purposes of getting the meat and potatoes in there. So we'll say there's a form action equals query insert.php. So I'm not going to specify the method. A lot of times you might want it to be post or get. I'm trying to remember what the default is. I think the default might just be post, but I'm used to just using a request object, so we'll get a little bit more into that here very shortly. The first thing I like to do, I like to give my forms a hidden input type. So input type equals hidden, and then I'm going to tell it, hidden with 2 D's, and then the name is going to indicate exactly what's going to happen when that function, when that form action processes the form. So we're going to query insert.php, and then I actually didn't put that part in here, but I've got the similar type of thing here. So if is set, so I'm just going to copy this out of query update. I always like to keep things consistent. So if is set, and then the request object and the name of the form item that's coming through. So we'll say it's going to be called insert person. If is set request insert person, we're going to run the function insert person. Now I'm not calling it with any parameters here. You see it's just empty inside the parentheses there, because I'm just going to refer to the request object a little bit later. So I've already assumed that I'm going to use the variables here, the new first name, that's going to equal the request object new first name. So first name, last name, favorite color, new. So that's what we'll give it in the form. So the name is going to be insert person. for our hidden input. And we'll just say there's a label for equals new first name. New first name. So we'll say, and then we'll close the label tag there. We'll put a break, and then we'll put input type equals text, name equals new first name. So the name attribute is what will actually tell you what it's going to be called when the form processor page processes it. You can also give it an ID if you're going to do some JavaScript things. That's always a good idea, but all we're doing on this one is just name. So I'll do another break. Label for equals new last name. New last name. Another break, and then we're going to do input type equals text, name equals new last name. A break, and then we're going to do a label for the new favorite color. Another break, input type equals text, name equals new favorite color. Now a lot of times, okay, and then let's not forget our input type equals submit. That'll actually be a button that can do something with the form. And we'll go ahead and close the form. It's messed up my tab spacing there. And then we'll go ahead and close the body. Messed up my tab spacing again here. And then we'll close HTML. So before we actually open the form element, let's just call it we'll say it's a P, a paragraph element, and then we'll say insert new person below. And then I'll just close that. And then we'll save it, and then we'll take a look at what that index file looks like now. So insert new person below, that's going to be that. I don't think we need to put the word below. Let me just take that out. And then after that form, let's just go ahead and put a horizontal rule, which is a line, just so we're going to do a little bit more on this a little bit later. So instead of having kind of a navigation menu, which is really just kind of web development stuff, we're going to focus on, like I said, the meat and potatoes, just the forms and then the processor of the form. So we've got insert new person. We've set the action to query insert. Now, before I actually run it with the database code here, I'm going to comment that part out, and we're just going to look at the printr of request. So printr is a PHP function that'll walk through an array and just kind of show it on the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and do that part now. So we'll say John Smith and his favorite color is white. Now when I submit, it's going to go to query insert. So this is the result of our printr here. So it's an array. It's got insert person, which is not, it doesn't have anything. I forgot. Usually when I give these hidden, I just give it a value of 1, just so that it makes a little more sense when I'm looking at it under the printr. I think because it's set, it doesn't really matter if it's got a value or not. So it would meet that condition of if is set. In fact, we know it does because it ran that function. So if is set request insert person was met, so it ran this because we saw printr. But I still like to give it a value of 1, just force a habit. So we have new first name, new last name, new favorite color. Okay, good. So let's go ahead and uncomment out the code, and we'll talk a little about it. I'm going to press Alt-Z or Option-Z on the Mac to turn on word wrap so we can see it all without stretching that window out. So we've got an SQL statement here, but it's a prepared statement, so we've got question marks on the values. This is to prevent injection, SQL injection. Basically, if the user were to type in a semicolon and then some more SQL code, if you didn't use prepared statements, it could run that code like that following query right after your query and mess things up. So it's sort of like sanitizing inputs, but when you're inserting it into the database or updating an existing record, you can use prepared statements. For selects that have user provided parameters, you can sanitize the inputs, which we'll get into. Yeah, I think we'll have time to get into it today. So SQL Serve prepare is a function, so it'll prepare it. It'll use the connection, which comes from db.php. We have our SQL statement there, and then we'll have an array of new first name, new last name, new favorite color. If the statement is not true, it's going to die. It's going to print R, the SQL Serve errors. Also, if it fails to execute, that's what this part's saying, it's going to do the same thing with the errors. Now, lastly, if it does succeed, it's going to say successfully added person. So let's save that, and then let's go back one and refresh the page, because I made a bit of a change just to give it that value of 1. And we'll say that the color is white. Now we'll submit. Okay, the insert permission was denied on the object people. So let's go ahead and modify our permissions for the tut_user. So we've got security on the tutorial database itself. So let's go to tut_user. I think we can do it from here, or we can do it from down below. So membership, yeah, we can just say data writer, and then we'll press OK. And I believe now if we were to rerun it, it'll go ahead and run properly. Yeah. So successfully added person is the result there. So now let's go ahead and comment out our print R request, since we've got that one working, and I'll save. Then we'll go back, and then let's say we've also got, let's say, GI Joe, and his favorite color is green. So we'll submit, successfully added person. Perfect. So now, let's say we wanted to have a drop-down list of all the people. So that'll be in our query select. So we've got show people. That's pretty much what we want, so let's base a function off of that. So we're going to copy it, and we're just going to make a few changes on it. I'm going to call it select people, because it's going to be giving us it's a select statement, but it's also giving us an HTML select item. So before the while loop, while it actually loops through the records in the query that are returned, we're going to want to do this. We're going to want to echo select name equals selected person, and then let's say that should be about it. We will give it an option value at the top, which is kind of a label. So option value equals nothing, and then we'll say this is selected, disabled, and hidden. What this means is that it'll show up as a label on your drop-down menu, your HTML select element, but once you've clicked on it, it'll go away. You won't be able to select it, and it'll just not do anything except be a label. So once you've selected one of the names in the list, you kind of have to refresh the page if you want to reset that. Or you can do some JavaScript things, or you can just take a different approach to this. Anyway, so inside of this option value, we're going to say choose a person. And then we're going to close the option tag. Now, instead of this, I'm just going to comment this out. We're going to go create a new line. We're going to say echo option value equals, and then we'll do double quotes. So we've got this echo text here inside single quotes, and we're going to concatenate that with the period sign there. We're going to say row ID, so the value is going to be the row ID return there. And then we're going to say, let's see here, so inside the option tags, the open and close is what it's going to show. So then we're going to say row first name, and then we want a space, so we're going to concatenate in single quotes just an empty space there. Row. I'm not used to really typing a whole lot on my laptop keyboard here. I didn't bring my full keyboard from work, but anyway, excuses. So all we want is the first name, last name. We don't really care about the favorite color for the person at this point in time. And then we're going to finally concatenate the closing option tag there. I'm going to put a semicolon. So after the while loop ends is when we're going to close the select. So we're going to do echo, and we're going to do just a / select. So it's going to close our HTML select element. So what we're doing is we're going to have an input value with the name of selected person as a result of this. So in our index page, let's say we want to modify a person. So we're going to make a paragraph element. It's going to say modify person. P. And then we're going to say form action equals, this time we want to do query update.php. And then let me see, what did I put for the expected? Okay, update favorite color. That's what we'll call it. That's what this function will do. It'll update someone's favorite color. So what we're going to do, now I'm thinking about it. Let's say what their current favorite color is after all. So we'll say current favorite color, and then we'll concatenate the row favorite color, and then let me just press Option Z, Alt Z on the PC to turn on word wrap there. So it'll give it a space so it doesn't chop this right up against the end of their last name there, and actually a dash and then another space. So let's see the result of that. So the function name is select people. So we're just going to call that before we do anything else. I'm going to leave a blank line for our input hidden there, but then we're just going to say PHP select people, and then we'll close the PHP tag, and we'll save that, and we'll refresh our page here. So modify person. Now it says choose a person. That's our selected, disabled, hidden input there at the top. So these are the current people that we've got and their current favorite colors. So we've got a couple of them with green, as it turns out. So let's do a little more. So let's keep going on this track here. So our input type equals hidden, and then we said it was going to be called update favorite color, and then we'll say it's a value of 1. And then let's give it a label, because the user is going to type in their new favorite color. We'll say it's label for it equals updated favorite color, because I don't really want to have two elements with the same name on the same page. So we'll just call it updated favorite color, and then updated favorite color. And then we'll do a break. We'll do an input type equals text for now. We can do a constraint of certain favorite colors to choose from, but for now we'll just go ahead and call it text. Name equals updated favorite color. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this case convention that I'm using is called Pascal case, where we start with the lowercase and then every subsequent word is uppercase. Correct me if I'm wrong. You know what? I might be wrong. I think I may have gotten Pascal case and camel case confused there. Pascal case, camel case. Okay, so the server side. All right, so oh my goodness, there's an ad. Okay, I'm trying to scroll down. Okay, great. Well, it looks like we're looking at ads. Okay, so Pascal case starts with an uppercase. Camel case is what I was using. I'm sorry about that. So camel case starts with lowercase, then every subsequent word is uppercase. So I usually, for the names of the tables, I actually did Pascal case. I like to kind of do that with all the words capitalized. But anyway, just pick one and stick to it, I guess. Or if there's already a code base, kind of try to be consistent. I'm just creating all this from scratch, so it kind of doesn't make much difference either way. So, modify person, we've got updated favorite color, and then we've got the input there. We're going to do a break, and then we're going to do input type equals submit. And then we're going to close the form. It's going to mess up my tab positions again for some reason. Great. All right. So I'll save that, and then we'll go ahead and into this one here. So we've got update favorite color. Oh, okay. I was assuming it would be called entered color. We're just going to correct this. So the request element that's going to be coming in, this item is going to be called updated favorite color. And then we'll call it that too here. Updated favorite color. And we'll change it here. And we'll get into that code here shortly. Before I do that, let's comment out the SQL code. So person ID is what I thought it might be called. So let's go back to our query select and then look at the select people. Now, option value equals this, but I need to give it a name. Okay, I have given it a name. So selected person. That'll work. Yeah, I'll just do it as selected. I'll say selected person ID. Okay, how about that? So we'll save that. Selected person ID, and then that'll fit in pretty well. So selected person ID, and then I'll just fix this one inside that commented out part. Selected person ID. That's a little bit more descriptive. It's also always good to be descriptive with your variable names. So person ID, and then I'll do the same thing for that selected person ID, even though that only exists within this PHP code here. So we'll save that. I've already saved index. I'm just going to go ahead and refresh the page. I forgot to do a break after the select there, so let's just go ahead and put one of those in and get that formatting somewhat decent. Okay. Yeah, could use a little space, but anyway. So I'll select myself, and then we'll say the new updated favorite color is going to be purple. Now I've commented out the SQL code, so it shouldn't do anything except print the request for us. And that's exactly what it's doing. So update favorite color is set, value of 1. Selected person ID is 1. Updated favorite color is now purple. So let's go ahead and comment, clear out our comments here for that. And we'll talk about what this does. So again, it's a prepared statement. So update people, set favorite color equals the variable where ID equals variable. And then it's going to run SQL serve prepare. Kind of the same thing. It uses an array. It tells us the two variables. So the order matters. So the favorite color is going to be this variable here, updated favorite color. And then the selected person ID comes next. Because if you look at the statement, that's how it is. It's set, and then your favorite color, and then your where, the ID. So it's just, you gotta be careful of the order, or else you'd be trying to set someone with the ID of purple to the favorite color of 1, and that wouldn't really work too well. So anyway, let's save that, and let's go ahead and refresh our page. Okay, undefined variable username in query update on 23. Oh, I forgot. Okay, I don't know why I had that username, but what I want is actually selected person ID. So I'm just gonna do that. I think the example I copied and pasted had username, so that's why. So it actually did work. It just gave us a warning. So I'm gonna run it again. It won't hurt to update again. So successfully updated the person with ID number 1. Now I'm going to comment out our print our request code here, and I'm going to go back and then just refresh our index page. So now we see the current favorite color is purple, and then G.I. Joe is green. I'm going to say his is going to be army green. Just all one word there. And we're going to go back, refresh the page. Now G.I. Joe is army green. So I figured we'd kind of stick to these standard color names because there's some fun stuff we can do in JavaScript and HTML. We're sitting at 25 minutes on the tutorial now. I don't want it to go overly long. So we've got an insert, we've got an update, and I said we'd do delete. So yeah, let's go ahead and do delete. I don't have a query delete.php if you notice there, which is fine. We can create one. It looks like I'm missing the ending PHP stuff there. So I'm just going to copy, well, I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to copy all this, and then we'll just create a new file call it query delete.php. Because a lot of it's the same thing. So let's say we wanted to delete person. So if isSet is delete person, we're going to say the function we're going to call is delete person. And we'll just change that all here, delete person. And then we don't need their favorite color. All we need is actually one variable. So we're going to say delete from people. And then we're going to say where ID equals that selected person ID. So that should be good. And then we can take this out. It's just an array of one variable there. SQL array selected person ID. And then we'll say select successfully deleted person with ID number of that. So now let's save that. Let's go to our index. And after our form has ended, we'll do another horizontal rule. We'll do a paragraph. We'll say delete person. Now, we could just kind of call the same function, select people. I think there shouldn't really be any reason we can't. The only thing is if you get to doing some interactivity with JavaScript and you have a select element with an ID, that can be a bit of a gotcha moment because you have the same element with the same ID on the page twice. It'll break your JavaScript stuff. So this time we'll be fine with it. Just something to keep in mind as your forms get more interactive and more complicated. What did I say it was going to be called? Delete person. So our hidden input element is going to be called delete person. The value on that one is just going to be 1 like before. And we're going to call the same function select people. Do a line break, and then that's pretty much all we need to do. Actually, we'll just say input type equals submit. But instead of submit, let's say the value on this one is going to be delete person. And then let's give this a style, say color equals red. And then font weight bold. So that way it's a bit of a visual cue that we're going to be deleting. I don't know why it always messes up my tab spacing there. Anyway, so delete person, that's what it'll look like. Yeah, let's go ahead and just make sure we're getting the right stuff. It's always good. On your first run, I never really like to have the SQL code live. I like to at least look at the request object with print.r first. So let me just do that. Let me just try deleting John Smith. So delete person and then selected person ID equals 4. So that actually looks pretty good. So let's comment out print.r request. I'm feeling confident on this one here. And let's clear out our comment tags for that part. And then let's go ahead and run it. Okay, select successfully deleted person with ID number 4. Actually, let's see if I go forward. If I try to run that again, it didn't give me an error message that time. Let's see if it actually worked and took out John Smith. It did. So I wonder why. That's interesting. Delete from. So you may have to kind of update your if else statements here for your status message, because it didn't return an error. I think it probably just returned like some kind of a warning. So let's look at that together. So we've got SQL Serve errors. Let's see if there's SQL Serve warnings or something like that. Let's see. SQL Serve errors. So we've got just on our PHP manual here, errors or warnings. Okay, so warnings. What we can do is actually just print our SQL Serve errors true. So let's just do that. So I'll delete. Let me use one more parenthesis there. I'm just kind of curious as to why it would not tell me that, hey, this was already deleted before. So let's just work through that. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and delete G.I. Joe the first time, as expected, no problems. So now let's go ahead and run it again. Still no errors. Interesting. Int errors or warnings equals, let's see what we've got here. So some examples for us there. Don't press my keyboard, kitty. Got a cat helper here. Hi, cat helper. This is Kit Kat. She's a good kitty sometimes. Yes, you're a good kitty sometimes, huh? Yes. Okay. So, how about you go on the bed, good kitty? Good cat. Yes. Alrighty. So we've got error and then the code. I'm trying to figure out if we can. Okay, so warnings are treated on an error. So let's just try and run that statement. So pretty much on people, let's just create a new query. So we'll say, let me just go to new query on this one here. New query with current connection. So we're using tutorial. So we'll just say delete from people where ID equals 5. That shouldn't work. 0 rows affected. Okay, so it's not really giving us an error, it's just saying 0 rows affected. So what we could do is kind of update that logic to count the rows, which I'm not really prepared for that part of the tutorial right now. So instead of working through it, I think what I would, there's probably a way to do that as part of the delete, as part of the prepared statement. Yeah, let's look at that real quick. So SQL Serve prepare. We'll look at that on the PHP manual here. So here's our parameters that we pass to it, and then options, return values. Okay. Statement resource or false. So what we could do actually is just make a select query. So selected person ID, let's go ahead and say, we'll talk a little bit about sanitizing inputs for select while we're at it. So we'll say sanitized person ID equals filter var, and then selected person ID, and then filter sanitized string? Filter hold on, I'm drawing a blank here. Is it sanitize? I thought it was filter var. That's interesting here. PHP filter sanitize. Oh, I think sanitize is deprecated there. So what we can do is, don't try to sanitize input, escape output, filter string polyfill. Filter, sanitize, full special characters. Really just want it. Oh, HTML special characters. Okay. So what we can do is just, well, I guess we could call either, yeah, HTML special characters and then selected person ID. So that should take out anything that would cause SQL injection. Don't quote me on that. Research, Stack Overflow with your exact issue and maybe test or get it tested and do a little more research. This is not really something I was originally planning to talk about in the tutorial, but I decided to at the last minute. So HTML special characters, and we can test it a little bit here. There's some tools that hackers and pen testers use to actually modify the input as it's being passed to the server, which I'm not prepared to demonstrate any of that right now, but HTML special characters should sanitize that fairly well. So then we'll say we'll do an SQL select. So SQL select equals select star from people where ID equals sanitized person ID, and then we'll say result equals SQL serve query, and then con SQL select, and then while row equals SQL serve fetch array. I think that's what we have, right? SQL serve fetch array, and then statement SQL serve fetch assoc. Okay. Result, and then SQL serve fetch associative. Oh, it's not I had the syntax a little bit wrong there. I need to wrap that in a parentheses. That's right. So actually we'll say, instead of while, we'll say if. So if anything is returned, we'll echo proceeding to delete person with ID number, and then we'll say the sanitized person ID, and then we'll say a break, line break there. Why did I do double quote? I don't know why I did double quotes there. Technically I didn't have to use the concatenate if I was doing double quotes, but since we got singles down here, I'm just going to keep it consistent. Else, we will say no person found with ID number, and then we'll say the sanitized person ID, and then we'll say break. So now, what we actually want to do is wrap the rest of it in here. So the only time we want to proceed is going to be when we're proceeding. So let's do that. So let's put in some more, a person or two again here. So we're going to insert person. We'll put G.I. Joe in with green again, and then we'll refresh, and now we've got G.I. Joe. So let's go ahead and try and delete him. Proceeding to delete person with ID number 6, successfully deleted person with ID number 6. Now let's refresh the page. No person found with ID number 6. So if you're building query delete functions, that's a good idea, just because it'll be super confusing to the user if something goes wrong or if they refresh the page, and I don't know. It's nice to check whether or not it's there to actually delete at the time of deleting it. So just a little overview of what that does. We'd run a select statement with the sanitized HTML special characters of the selected person ID. And then we proceed to check if there's a result returned or not. If there isn't, this if statement won't be met. And then if it is met, we'll say proceeding to delete the person, and then we'll go ahead with preparing that statement with that selected person ID from here. Let's see, we're sitting at about 40 minutes. I think I'd like to do a little bit with, because I think all these are valid HTML color names. So let's just make a fun little table of the person and their favorite color with the actual color. I think that'll be a whole lot of fun. So let's do an HR here, and then we'll say table of people with favorite colors, and then we'll close that tag. We actually don't need this to be a form, but we're going to call so we'll say the function is show color table, and then the rest of it is just going to be in our query select file here. So on this one, let's go ahead and just write a new function from scratch on this since it's a little bit different. So show color table, and we are going to require our db.php. We're going to select ID, first name, last name, favorite color from people. And then we're going to actually, let's just say order by. We'll order it by the first name ascending, just for kicks on this one. Now statement is SQL serve query con SQL. And now what we're going to do is actually render a table. So we're going to say echo table, and then echo tr, so table row, and then table head. We'll say their name. So we'll just consolidate it into one, and then we'll say we'll close the table head. We'll say open another table head, and we'll say their favorite color. Then we'll close that, and then we'll close the row. Now in the while, we'll say while row equals SQL serve fetch array statement SQL serve fetch assoc. And then we're going to actually render the rows of the table here. So we'll do a tr, and then we'll say a td. So now we're in the cell with the name. So we're going to want row first name, a space, and then row last name. And then we're going to want to close the table there. And now let's actually fill. So we're going to open the TD, and then we'll say the style equals background color. And this is actually where we're going to put the row favorite color. So it's a little, we just got to make sure we got the right quotation marks in the same place. And then we'll just close the TD. So, and then let's see, after that we'll close the TR, and after the while we will close the table. All right, let's just give that a whirl. So we'll go back, we'll refresh our index page. Okay, that didn't work. So let's go to our inspector here. So we'll right click and we'll go to inspect. Try to figure out kind of what's going wrong with that one. I'll maximize this. Okay, so we've got a TD, styles, background color, red. It seems to be missing a closing double quote. Maybe that's what's getting us here. So after the favorite color, let's try putting in a closing double quote there, and we'll go ahead and refresh the page. There we go. So now we've got that. That's what it was missing. So we've got our person with their favorite color. So now let's go ahead and put in a new, just because HTML color names, I'll just pull that up. So google.com. Okay, I guess that works. Okay, HTML color names. There's quite a few of them. Let's see. Let's do deep pink. So let's do Lillian, my daughter, and we'll say Lillian Booter, and we'll say deep pink is her favorite color. So we'll submit, and then we'll go back and refresh the page, and now we've got Lillian Booter and her favorite color is deep pink, and it's rendered that way. So if we inspect the element here, we've got our background color of deep pink. So now we're sitting just under 45 minutes, just over once I start talking. Anyway, hopefully this was helpful for you guys. Kind of a little more on the database development and less on the web development side, but we've used the stack that we just set up last night and kind of shown some cool stuff. Last thing I'll do, I'll go ahead and just demonstrate using it from my computer. So let's, it's 3.138.100.34. It might still be my, yeah, there we go. So as we can see, I've loaded it from my computer I'm recording this with. Let's see, let's put in Nile. I don't know what his favorite color really is, but we'll just put in another record to show that that works pretty well. It's real fast because there's not really too much happening as far as the queries. So like a t2.micro would be perfectly fine in that case. It would save you guys a lot of money. I found doing the last video description, doing t2.large, including the EC2 storage, would be like $90 a month. And when you're paying, something like that, I would really look at on-premises server, maybe just on a Windows, standard Windows license. Maybe a refurbished server, something that comes with an operating system, or just, the cloud can get a little expensive when you start really asking for a lot of horsepower, and you know what? It's not really that fast. It'll do processing, local processing, but when you're going out to the cloud and coming back, not really crunching numbers, you're going to see a lot better performance if you can do an on-premises server right there in your building. So if you need to spend, a couple $1,000s initially, that's probably worth it, because over a couple years, you're probably going to end up spending that much on AWS anyway. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If there are any blatant security risks or huge areas of room for improvement, please point it out in the comments, and I'll try to make an updated video using your suggestions, because we don't want, in 2024, we don't want people to keep doing things that are insecure. So if anything I did here was really bad, I apologize for that in advance, but please do point it out, because we want the web to be secure and safe moving forward. PHP has a reputation for being easy to write code that's not very good. A lot of the code that I've written over the years might not be very good. I admit that. So always trying to improve it. Anyway, thanks for watching. Comment what you'd like to see next.